Welcome, Australia. It's that time again for another podcast from the Mate team, where we try and get into your head with stuff that makes us sound smart. Sit back and relax. It's time for us to be mates.
Welcome, Australia, to another Let's Be Mates podcast. My name is Bosco, and I'm joined by the usual crew, so Faz and Dom. How are you, boys?
Hey, good, Bosco. Yourself?
Good, thank you. In today's episode, we are talking to Anthony, who is the founder and director of an organisation called Popcar. Mate was started with a problem we thought Australians had when purchasing their telco products. This is what drove us to do what we do. We resonate with Popcar's story, which is all about making car sharing better than car ownership, which is a unique proposition for us all. Our aim at Mate is to give people what they need, but to do it better and offer them the value they deserve. Our mates at Popcar are trying to do exactly the same. So welcome Anthony from Popcar.
Hey guys, thanks very much for having me. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and look, we're always interested in finding out new stories about new businesses and where they came from and where they're going to. So we're really excited to have you on. And look, let's start with let's start a bit about you, like your career today.
Yeah.
What your career was to what it is now, and how you got to Popcar.
So we started Popcar back in 2016 is when we put our first cars out there on the road. And but it was a little bit before that, that the whole idea was sort of being thought about and being talked about. But it was 2016 that we started. So I myself, I've been in automotive for about 12 years in dealerships and in retail. So in automotive for a while. And back then we thought that, that there was just this really cool opportunity coming around where, through a combination of, just time and technology and the opportunity to do something really cool.
Oh, that's cool. And I guess for our listeners, let's take us through exactly what Popcar is and what you're trying to solve for Australians. Yeah,
sure. So Popcar's a car sharing operator. So we provide shared use of vehicles. We own the vehicles. They're all our cars. So there's a whole different bunch of different mobility solutions out there now. And that's to jump to the problem that we're trying to solve. It's to try and make mobility a combination of easier or better or more accessible, but just make mobility better. And so there's a whole different range of mobility options now. You've got what we do, car sharing, like us. You've got the whole ride sharing thing. You've got different modes where car sharing is available, but it's peer to peer. So your car gets rented out to someone else in your street. So there's a whole lot of different things out there. So what we do though is we're an operator. We own the cars. So we go put cars out into various areas, so most typically out into suburban streets, and we let people join our program, and then they've got use of a car by the hour. So they can just use it when they want. It's all what we call station-based. So you pick a car up from a particular location and then you go use it and then you bring it back to that location. But the whole idea is around flexibility. So you can use it by the hour, you can use it for multiple days, as much like being your own private car as we can make it. So, and distinct to car rental. All the times that I've rented a car, I reckon from an airport, it's just the whole exercise is a massive hassle. It's not a good experience. We don't want it to be like that. So we don't refer to it as car rental. We want it to be like your own individual car. So that's what we do. So our cars are out in streets. We've got some cars in residential buildings, which is really cool. That works really well. And a few different sort of things like that. But for the most part out in residential streets. And so once you join, then you get the keys to all of our cars and you just book it and then you go take it when you want and you bring it back.
Yeah, it's like taking control of your own destiny. When you go to the airport and you hire a car, no matter what price you pay online, it's double when you get to the desk, the sales desk to pick it up, because they didn't add it on the everyday insurance, or they didn't add on the GPS, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, and it's the most frustrating experience that I ever come across, right? And so, I mean, if you're taking away those complexities and all those different things, then mate, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole thing about like renting a car from the airport and, being terrified that they're going to get you for 1 mil of petrol being under, and every litre being $20 a litre, and the whole walking around the car and doing the scratch report. So we very intentionally try to steer away from all of that, because, that's not what you guys do when you hopped in your car this morning. You don't walk around with pen and paper and take note of every scratch and fearful that someone's going to come back and charge you for something, So we don't do that at all. We want it to be exactly like you're just walking up to your car in the street and picking it up and going. So, a completely different thing. And we're trying to solve a different problem as well. The whole idea with what we're trying to do is not that, the super infrequent use of a car from an airport terminal. It's about, today when you want to go up to the shops, you've got a car to be able to do it. Tonight when you want to go out to dinner, you've got a car to be able to do it. When you want to do something on the weekend, you just take the car like you would your own private car.
Gotcha.
So the problem that we're trying to solve is, just make mobility easier, and make it so that for you to have access to a vehicle, you don't have to go and purchase your own car, or you don't have to go rent a car, traditionally.
You probably touched on a little bit there, but what was the initial idea you had or opportunity you saw that you could do better in the market, that some of your competitors weren't? Obviously, that you've got a wide range of competitors, as you said, like from the Ubers of the world to traditional car hire through to other car share services. So what was that opportunity you saw, and what were some, I guess, the steps to get to bring the business to life?
To bring the business to life, there are a lot of mistakes, right? But the opportunity in the first place was, mobility is changing. Like every auto manufacturer now doesn't want to be a car manufacturer anymore. They want to be a mobility company. And, there's so much talk about autonomous driving, electrification of cars, personal micro mobility. All the car companies are working on, these really cool products, around personal short-term mobility. It's just changing significantly. And, there's a lot of talk about emission standards throughout the world. So in Australia, we don't have a emissions regulation on vehicles, but of course in Europe and America and most countries they do. It'll no doubt be part of Australia in the not too distant future. So, there's a lot of change. It's like anything, right? A lot of industries, there's a lot of change, and cars and transport, it's something that they're probably, whilst the technology in the cars has, of course, come a long way, in like actual practical terms, there probably hasn't been a lot of, drastic, significant change, but that's all here and it's all coming, with some of those things I was just saying before, what cars can do by way of being, semi-autonomous now. It's the functions and the features in cars are just incredible. In the Corollas that we use from Toyota, they read street signs. So it reads the speed signs as you go down the highway. Like those autonomous sorts of things, it's just getting better and better. And so that's going to bring a significant amount of change. So sorry, to get back to what you were asking, like where did the idea come from? There's a lot of change afoot, and car sharing and just the shared economy is going gangbusters in, a lot of countries and a lot of different sectors. And it did exist in Australia, so we didn't create it. It existed in Australia, but really there wasn't much consumer choice, right? And there was effectively a monopoly operator, and we just thought, or I thought, there was, with the people that we started it with, that there was the opportunity to provide this really cool alternative, but to do it in a brand, under a brand that people really wanted to identify with. And we've put a lot of work into that. And we see that as a real significant opportunity for us. It's not just to provide a utility and a service, but to do it under a brand, in a brand that people really want to connect with. And we do a lot of work on our branding and how we want to resonate with people.
Before we get on the next question, I love the world that we live in now, right? Because the world we live in now is that we're offering businesses are offering the same things, but businesses out there that are winning are allowing those things to be accessed in different accessed in different ways, right? In more cost-effective ways, in easier ability to get to them and things like that. And that's what I love about what businesses are doing. And when businesses get to that point where they offer innovative ways to access things that we love, that's where brand takes over, right? And brand, I think a lot of people underestimate the value of brand. If you look at our business, mate, we offer NBN and mobile phone services. Now, you can get that from nearly 100 different providers in this market, right? And we do things differently. One, we obviously say our service and the way we do things are better, right? But how do we attract people to start with? We attract them through our brand. Our brand resonates with people. It makes the whole concept of mate and mateship says, hopefully that makes them feel good to give us a go, all right? And when they give us a go, then we back it up with the actions that with actions, and then we deliver them a good service. And I think everybody listening is that brand don't underestimate the importance of getting the right brand out there, the way it looks, the way you deliver, the values around it, all those different things. And it sounds like that's exactly what you value, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're very similar. We work very, very hard, and for the most part, we do a pretty good job in terms of the experience that we provide. We talk about, because it's exactly the same. There's lots of different ways to get to wherever you're going to dinner tonight, or wherever you're going to what you're doing on the weekend. So consumers have got heaps of choice, which is cool. But for them to choose us, we work really hard on this whole idea of membership experience, which everybody does. But we talk a lot about we want people to say, we wish their gym was like their car share company being us. We try and make it so that people say, I wish everything else that I did, the experience was like I had it at Popcar with my car share company. And we're never going to operate a gym. We're never going to provide that to people, but we want people to think like that. And exactly as you said, that's not how we attract them in the first place, because that's a real proof point. You got to get into it to prove that to people. And we try hard to do that through a variety of different ways, mostly just by ourselves being so conscious of it and all the things we do ourselves in our team to try and make that come to fruition with members. But we try really hard at that, and because that's all a part of being an organisation that people really, really want to deal with.
Cool. That's really cool.
Anthony, you mentioned previously about people registering. So just give us a little bit of an overview of how Popcar actually works. Like, where do you start from? So obviously you mentioned registering, what happens once you register, et cetera, and things like that. So just give us a bit of an overview of how it works.
Sure. So we've got some people register online, and or we're here to help them over the phone. So, but there's no there's no count or outlet that you go to. So you register online. It's a pretty easy joining process. Of course, just need your credit card and your driver's license, and then typical questions, typical forms. You do that. We then send you a membership pack, which has got it's like a swipe card, RFID card, and that's what people use to access the cars. So once you got that, you got the keys to all our cars. And then you're set, ready to go. So what you do at that point is, once you've registered online, and we've got a couple of different membership plans. So we've got one where people, if people want to use it super frequently, they can do that. They pay a subscription fee, but they pay cheaper usage rates. And then we've got a plan that, like if you want to use it once in a blue moon, you pay nothing to hold it. So no subscription fees, but you pay a little bit more when you do use it. So once people join online, we send them out the membership pack. It's got the swipe card in it. They've got that. And then anytime they want to use a car, you can either book it on the app, book it on the internet, or give us a call. And you just book a car for when you want it. And then what happens is, so all the cars have got computers inside the cars. And on the windscreen, there's a chip reader, RFID card reader. So to access the car, once you've made a booking, all you do is just hold your card up to that and the doors unlock. And then you can use the car.
That's cool. And
so so you pick it up, you bring it back. Fuel's included. So each car's got a fuel card in it because that's part of the usage. So when you run out of fuel, you go fill it up, but you don't pay for it there and then. We pay for it, and the cost of the fuel is taken sort of into consideration with the pricing of the usage.
Yes, you just touched on a couple of different levels of subscription, but just as a general guide, sort of what does an hourly rate or daily rate does a consumer expect?
So for the usage, we charge a combination of hours used and kilometres driven. So say under our frequent use plan, a Corolla style car is $5.50 an hour and 40 cents a kilometre. So $5.50 an hour. It's typically people will do well, it depends how much driving you do. If you're taking it for a couple of hours and you're just going a couple of K up the road, then it's going to cost you $12 type thing.
Cool.
I'm curious to know, right? I mean, I guess it includes tolls and things like that as well. That's all included in the service, or you overcharge that? Because, I mean, there's a lot of aspects, and I think it also includes insurance and all those different things.
So it includes everything except tolls.
Okay.
So that's a user pay on top, because tolls are expensive and it's not fair to share it out amongst everyone. So that's user pay. So but it includes everything else. So we go clean the cars, we replace the cars, buy new cars, we service them, register them, clean them, we'll pay for the fuel. Yep. So everything other than toll charges. But otherwise, everything's bundled up into that one price. And then, if you go across the Sydney Harbour Bridge 2 times whilst you got it, you pay that on top. Yeah. But the cleaning, so I mean, talking about trying to make it easy, we try and remove the whole hassle of owning a car. So it's like anything, when you own something, then you bear the owner's responsibility to look after it and to take care of it. So again, we try and make it easy in that, we take care of all that. So we're the ones that go buy the cars. We're the ones that trade them in. We're the ones that fund it. We're the ones that clean it. We're the ones that service it. When the tyres need replacing, we replace the tyres. We just take care of all of that. So, all the, I guess, chores or hassles associated with owning anything, in this case, a car, we take care of it for you.
And Anthony, what sort of cars, so give us a bit of an overview of what specific models you have available. I mean, is there categories, or I guess if coming from a rental or looking at a rental background, usually they've got small, medium, SUV, etc. Is that sort of how it works as well, or?
Yeah, exactly. So we've got different categories of cars, and of course they've got different prices attached to them. So one of the things that we try and do is, because I mean, when it comes to buying a car, to some degree, everyone compromises. The once every year you might need a van, right? Because you want to move a whole bunch of stuff around, or on the weekends you might want an SUV because you want to throw more stuff in the back. But Monday to Friday you got to drive into the city, and you want a small car. So we intentionally try and provide a bit of a range of vehicles. So we've got a little bit of a range in that respect, where we've got vans, small cars and SUVs, and some sort of cooler cars that we call under the sports category. So, because when you join, then you get access to all those, and one of the messaging points that we try and communicate is that it's like, owning, 7 different cars at the same time. So, when you want to take a compact car, you can take a compact car. If you want to use a van on the weekend, you can go get that instead. So that's one of the cool things about it, is that you get access to the range. Now, it does depend whether or not we've got the range located near where you live, of course, but as we go into an area and we add more vehicles to an area, we try and make sure there's a little bit of a selection there.
Yeah. I love, so I used to live in Singapore, right? And when I was living there for 3 years, I never had to worry about a car. And when I did, I could get a car share scenario. And it was, I don't know, it just liberated me. It made me feel so free, and not having to worry about this freaking thing with 4 wheels that I had to maintain, build, make sure I paid insurance, a rego, make sure I cleaned it, make sure I filled it up. And, you had to manage yourself all around that, right? And and then like now I'm back in Australia and I've got this car and it's a pain in the ass. The last thing I want to do is have a car. Another thing I need to worry about. And I love solutions like this where you can just, you don't have to worry about it, but you can still get it if you need it, right? Which is awesome. And I love to understand what the ambition is of Popcar, right? Because, mate, we started in my auntie's backyard with no real ambition apart from, we wanted to get it out of our corporate jobs and do something that might have made us a little bit of money. Now we want to take over the world, right? So I love to understand what your ambition is and what your drive is to see where Popcar could go.
Yeah, we really think, similar, like the sky's the limit, it's, we get so excited, when these new opportunities creep up and they constantly are, so at the moment we're in Sydney, Melbourne and Canberra and Byron Bay as well. But, we're just scratching the surface, it's a big country and it's a big world too. So we're just scratching the surface. What I'd love it to be is I'd love us, just going back to brands, I'd love us to be a business that people really wanted to deal with, like one of those love mark type businesses where, they love dealing with us and we solve the problem for them, and like with what we do, we talk a lot about it being a win-win and we really believe it's like a win-win for everyone. That's a really cool thing it's a cool thing to be involved in, where it's good for people in a whole different, range of ways, it's good for the community in a whole different range of ways. And that's one of the things we love. It really is a win-win. So, ambition wise, we'd really love it to be a business and a brand that people love to deal with. And we'd love it to be, the way that, people got to move around better, and however that means to them. It can mean financially, so a lot of people use this because there's a financial proposition around it. A lot of people use this because there's a whole flexibility proposition around it. A lot of people use this because there's a whole sustainability proposition around it. So whatever that is and the driver for people, but just under that banner of better options, and but in terms of ambition for how far and wide that we can spread, the sky's the limit, it's and it's catching on as well, so it's just really cool to see. But like you guys, it's a big old country out there, and it's just exciting to do something where there's so much opportunity, isn't it?
Driving's pretty, well ingrained in the Australian culture. What's our adoption rates like compared to other markets? Are we slow to, and wary to give up our cars? Obviously, the cities are a nightmare to drive and park and so forth in. But what's that sort of adoption rate compared to others?
Yeah, so it's low. It is low, and for the most part, a big part of what we're trying to do is around education, so. It's not as though every person out there understands that, number one, it's a option that exists to them, and then even if they're aware of it, number two, like really how it works and how it can work for them. So it is low in Australia compared to particularly Europe, but parts of Asia and parts of North America and South America too. Adoption rates are high, but higher, but it's still low. So there's still a massive education piece for us, and the other people that are in the same sort of space to educate people that there's an option there and that how it works and that it exists. But it's not just for people to completely replace car ownership too. Part of the messaging that we send out is that so certainly it is that, there are people that don't own a car and use us instead of any car, but there are people that do own a car and use us for their second car, So like if there's a family that's got a need for, say, 1.4 cars, you don't have to go get the whole second car. You can have your car and for the 0.4 that the time you need another one, you can use us, or have two cars. If you've got a use for 2.3, 2.7, use us for the point something. So a lot of people use it like that. And a lot of people do use it. The people that use it infrequently, they've got their primary mode of transport, which for some certainly is their own privately owned car, but they use us for those infrequent times, like if they want access to a van or a car for a particular road trip, they want to go away, that sort of stuff as well. But the adoption rates are low, which just goes back to the whole thing about how exciting it is, the opportunity. Like once people realise that this exists and how it can work, for them, whatever their particular circumstances are, it's really exciting going forward.
Yeah, there's so much effort required in business to educate consumers about your value proposition, right? And you've got to keep repeating yourself, and because you're telling them something that completely changes the way they operate, right? They're going, why the hell would I rent a car for when I've got my car? Or why would I do this and why would I do that? And then the more and more you explain it to them and you give them examples, that's where it really resonates, right? And then life changes after that. I mean, look at when Uber came around, right? I mean, I think that changed the way things do. Like, I mean, I live not far from the city, but if I'm going to go into the city for a meeting, I'll catch an Uber. I won't even bother, taking my car or things like that. And so it's funny. And, the only thing we always say in our business, the only thing stopping our business getting out there more is just cash, right? It literally takes time and money to get out there. If you had abundance of time and money, your ideas that are winning will go everywhere and be a difference. And that's the only thing that stops anybody, right? So it's a great story. Absolutely. It's a great story, Anthony.
Yeah, no, look, it's been fun. I mean, it's been fun. We've got a cool group of people here that work on it, and that's 9/10 the battle, there. And no, it's gone well, and as I said, it's exciting what's out there ahead of us. So one little step at a time.
You touched on sustainability. I thought I'd just dive a little deeper because I think it's probably if it's not a big selling point for your customers, it probably should be, because we've got some big issues to face in the next 10, 20 years. But it's obviously a byproduct of that as well. And the stat around, one car share vehicle replaces about 12 on the road, which sort of that blew my mind a little bit. But all your vehicles are, you've got a mix of hybrid, but you've also got quite fuel efficient vehicles. That was obviously a choice and a brand value you wanted from up front.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of sort of an intrinsic part of car sharing in any sense, but certainly to work towards that. So, making sure that we've got some hybrid vehicles there, all of our cars. So by nature of the business, our fleet are newer than sort of the average Australian vehicle out there. So each iteration of a manufacturer's new vehicle is significantly more fuel efficient and clean than the previous. So, the fact that our cars are typically newer than the car and the average out there in the car park generally, that makes them better. Typically, we're using hybrid vehicles, which for some of the cars, which is even a step further towards lower emissions there. And typically, just to the stat that you just read out, sharing cars, it does mean less total kilometres driven, sort of all in all. So it's a big part of it. And the reason why, we work with local governments. They're a really important partner of ours because they're the ones that sponsor and provide the on-street parking spaces. And local governments, like all levels of government, are really driven to seeing change and improvements in the way that the transport goes on, throughout the community. So the sustainability part of it, it's a really important aspect, and it just goes under for us that whole banner of like trying to make mobility better, and it's a real important part of it.
And just Anthony, just for our listeners, how do people get in touch to learn more about Popcar?
Our website, of course, popcar.com.au, and of course on Facebook and Instagram. We do a lot of things there, trying to share our stories and things like that. So they would be the best places to reach out.
Awesome. Anthony, thanks very much for joining. Love your story. Love what you guys are
thanks.
about. I would love to have you on in a couple of months' time to see how you're going again and see where things are and see how the business evolve. But mate, we really resonate with the story, and I think we wish you all the best. And mate, and to the listeners, give it a crack. Give the whole new concept of car sharing a crack. I think you won't go back once you do. And so, look, again, thanks for joining, and we'll chat to you soon. Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Let's Be Mates podcast by the team at Mate.
Search for the Let's Be Mates podcast on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and at letsbemates.com.au. Hit subscribe to get the latest episode each week.
For all your telco needs, choose a provider you can trust like a mate. Visit letsbemates.com.au, Google Mate, or call us on 13 14 13 to sign up today.
See you soon, mate.